Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my official NFL week number 13 picks and predictions, where I predict the final score of every NFL game, beginning with a Thursday night matchup. It is the Dallas Cowboys. They always do this. They play on Thanksgiving the Thursday night, and then they come back and play on Thursday night again. They're taking on another team that played on Thursday night, the kind of the normal rest with Seattle. Seattle coming off that brutal home loss to a very good San Francisco team. Dallas at this point, they're an absolute juggernaut. They do tend to struggle a lot with better teams. I don't know if I would classify Seattle as necessarily a better team. They're 6-5, but they're not elite. Dallas is sitting -8.5, and I think based on how well Dallas has played, you would be a fool to bet against them at this point. We're going to keep rolling with them until they don't cover -8.5. Kind of a bigger spread, but you can take a look at, the analytics always love the Cowboys because they tend to blow out really bad teams, and they won another game last week against the Commanders 45-10. CeeDee Lamb developing into a top 3 receiver in the NFL. The running game getting going a little, Dak Prescott possibly being an MVP candidate, and then you're looking at a Seattle team. The narrative is not positive with them. They're very likely going to be gunning for a new quarterback. Geno Smith, it was a nice little 2-year run, but he certainly is not their future. I like Dallas to win and cover, and I guess I'll take the over in that one. Moving on to the Sunday games, it is the Chargers traveling to Foxborough, so this is a tough game for the Chargers. I don't know exactly how cold it's going to be, but it definitely will be. Warm weather team traveling to cold weather climate, also playing the 10 a.m. game if you adjust for the Pacific time zone, so kind of a tough environment here for the Chargers, but New England, on the other hand, they're sitting 2-9. They're coming off that loss to the Giants. It does feel like, not that they're tanking, but the quarterback play, whether it's Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones, I don't know how you can trust either one of those guys. I'm going to say the Chargers win this game relatively easily. The Chargers did have a pretty demoralizing loss on Sunday Night Football, but they were able to contain Baltimore for much of that game. A decent defensive effort in this one. Again, you're looking at a New England team very likely playing for a draft pick. Mac Jones, not the future. Bailey Zappi, not the future. I think the Chargers win this game. They cover, even sitting at 4-7 on the year. If they lose this game, they're going to fire their coach for sure. The next 1 o'clock game, it is the 2-10 Arizona Cardinals traveling to take on the 7-4 Steelers. The narrative with the Steelers, they did have, 400 yards of total offense. That was kind of the big thing. The first time in like 50 games they've had that much. They're sitting -5.5 in this one, and I am going with kind of a sizable upset, I would say. Arizona is 2-10. Now, Arizona, for many of those losses, did not have their franchise quarterback. They do have their franchise quarterback now. They did get crushed last week against the Rams, but we understand this is the NFL. This is what tends to happen. You get random games each week. It's not like the Steelers are this juggernaut on offense now just because they fire Matt Canada. Let's not overreact to that. We will be going with the Cardinals. Surprising, but Kyler Murray's a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. It is what it is. I understand the Steelers have a better overall team, but the talent gap between these two teams, not very big. I do think people are kind of overreacting to 1 week of good offense for the Steelers. I will take Arizona to pull up kind of a surprising upset on the road outright as 5.5-point underdogs. Next, we do have Indianapolis traveling to Tennessee. These AFC South games, I can just not escape them. Every week there's one of these crap matchups where it's just, we've got Gardner Minshew, Will Levis. The road team is sitting 2.5-point favorites. I don't know. Although last week I got a really good vibe on Indianapolis, and they rewarded me. They won that game and they covered the 2.5-point spread. They're sitting 2.5-point favorites here, but on the road, I will take them to win. I will take them to cover. Tennessee, very nice win last week. They covered their 3-point spread against Carolina, but Carolina is a lot worse than Indianapolis. Indianapolis is playing for a playoff spot right now. I will say Tennessee, certainly not a terrible team, especially at home, trying to develop a young quarterback. They do have DeAndre Hopkins. They've got Derrick Henry. You know how these AFC South games are. It's probably going to come down to a field goal. I will take Indianapolis, though, to win that one there. Next, we do have Denver traveling to Houston. Very interesting game. This game was originally at 4:05, and they bumped it to 1 o'clock. And their reasoning was they were like, we want a primetime game at 1 o'clock. What a brutal, brutal thing. This game should still be at 4:05. I know there's another big 4 o'clock game, but it's a lot easier to kind of keep track of 2 games rather than the full 1 o'clock slate. That's a bad move by the NFL. Really wanted to see CJ Stroud in a 4 o'clock game. Either way, you do have CJ Stroud sitting at 6-5 right now, taking on a Denver Broncos team. My goodness, what is it, 5 straight wins? They allow 70 points, and then they go on a crazy run. Houston, though, sitting -3.5, and I love Houston in this game. Nothing against Denver. They've had a nice run, but they still do have a pretty bad defense. I think they're due to get blown out. Houston is due for a win. They almost beat Jacksonville, very likely. You know, if that kicker makes the field goal, possibly you go to overtime. They could have won that one at home. I think they win this one at home. Remember, this is a Houston team that blew out Jacksonville on the road back in like week 3. They've shown the capability to win a game by a lot, and I think at home against a Denver team. Guys, Denver, they beat the Browns, but the Browns really had some questionable play calling. The Browns are playing with 3 hands tied behind their backs at this point with like 10 injuries. I don't know, man. It seems like Russell Wilson's a game manager. That's not an explosive offense. They're not going to be able to keep up with CJ Stroud, possibly also getting Noah Brown back. He already got Nico Collins. I love Houston, -3.5 in that one. Next, it is Detroit traveling to New Orleans. New Orleans is always a strange team to predict, especially with Derek Carr this year. They will be taking on a Detroit team. They're on extended rest, right? The Lions kind of choke on that Thursday, Thanksgiving game. This was going to be their year to win on Thanksgiving. They end up losing. I had them winning but not covering, and they lost outright. But now they're sitting -4. I do like them to calm down, win this game relatively easily on the road against the Saints team. That's really just completely average, 31-20. I do have faith in Dan Campbell. It's not going to fall off the rails. This is a very winnable game. Good teams win these games on the road, especially against a mediocre Saints team. They will, 31-20. Next, you do have Atlanta traveling to take on the Jets, and I have to say, man, some of these matchups, it's hard to talk about. I mean, this is just brutal quarterback play. There's really nothing else I can say about it. The road team is 3-point favorites. I do have Atlanta losing this game to the Jets because the Jets do have a very good defense, and they're at home. They should use the energy off of the crowd. Also, Garrett Wilson did catch a touchdown last week. Bijan Robinson's had a few nice games, but I just can't trust Atlanta, whether it's Taylor Heineke, whether it's Desmond Ridder. I mean, we've just got brutal football this year. I really don't know what else to say. I do think there's good value on the Jets because think about it. The Jets are also trying to half come back this year because there's the thought Aaron Rodgers might come back. The Aaron Rodgers thing is very strange to me. I'm not exactly sure what he wants to do considering the Jets are already 4-7. They honestly struggle to complete passes beyond the line of scrimmage. So why would Aaron Rodgers think they're going to be in playoff contention in week 16 or week 17? It just doesn't make much sense. But I don't know, maybe he wants to show the world he can come back. Either way, this could be like a win to rejuvenize them. And again, you're facing a very bad offense. You're at home. It's going to be cold. This is a dome team in Atlanta going on the road against a good Jets defense. They're probably going to get 3 or 4 turnovers and win this game very low scoring. I'm guessing the over-under in this game is in the mid-30s, so I actually probably have the over with 37 total points scored. Next, we do have Miami traveling to the nation's capital, Landover, Maryland, actually, to take on the Commanders. Miami sitting -9.5. Seems like Miami always has spreads like this, like -9.5, -10. They were -9 against the Jets. They end up covering that game. I don't think they cover this one. And listen, the Commanders are a very streaky team. Last week, they got absolutely crushed by the Cowboys, although there was a pick six there at the end. I'm not saying the game should have been closer, but it was kind of, maybe like a 25-point game, whatever. It got extended. Either way, Sam Howell, he always throws for a bunch of yards. They're going to be at home. I understand the Dolphins are a really good team, but this is the NFL. I think the Commanders keep it close. People are going to be surprised towards the end of this game. Maybe it goes to overtime. I do like the Dolphins sitting 8-3 to improve to 9-3, but that is not a terrible Commanders team, although they do have a lame duck head coach. Ron Rivera is going to be gone. I thought he already would have been gone. Very surprised they decided to go the route of firing the, defensive coordinator. Jack Del Rio doesn't make much sense considering Ron Rivera at this point. I mean, he's been there like 5 years. I don't think they have a single winning season. Next, moving on to the 4 o'clock games. What a random 4 o'clock game this is. It's Carolina traveling to Tampa Bay. So you do have young Bryce Young, the young rookie. His coach gets fired, taking on Baker Mayfield. The Bucs really struggling recently, sitting at 4-7. And I do like the narrative coming into this game for Carolina. They fire their coach. They're galvanizing around their young quarterback. They really have no need to tank at all, and they're taking on a Tampa Bay team. If I'm a Buccaneers fan, I'm really trying to finish this year out, and I hate to say this, but what about we go 4-13? Possibly get a top 5 pick. I would really like that if I was the Bucs, just based off of this team's going nowhere. You need a new quarterback. Obviously, Baker Mayfield's a solid, backup / bridge guy, but he's not the future. Try and get a top 5 pick. Try and lose a bunch of games. Carolina, there's no need for them to lose. I think they win this game surprising on the road, and we get the narrative of, oh, they're galvanizing in the locker room because they just fired their head coach. We just saw that with the Raiders, and we took advantage, picking them to win a few games. Now I think it happens with Carolina. Moving on to the 4:25 games, it is the Cleveland Browns traveling to LA to take on the Rams. At some point, the injuries are going to catch up to the Browns. I'm not sure if we'll see Joe Flacco in this game. They possibly could be without Amari Cooper. I hear Myles Garrett gets banged up. You've already obviously got the Nick Chubb injury, the Deshaun Watson injury. It's going to get ugly in this game for the Browns. They're going to have a very hard time scoring. And the Rams, coming off that huge road win over Arizona, where it seemed like Matt Stafford had a rebirthing, they win this game very easily, and they cover that spread. I understand the Browns. They've been in a few, close games. It seems like they're always playing close games with the great defense. The injuries are just too much at this point. They will lose this game on the road, and the Rams will cover the 4.5-point spread. This is the premier 425 game, very similar to last week. The Eagles had a home 425 game that was crazy good against the Bills. Now they've got another one against San Francisco, and you do have San Francisco sitting -2.5. San Francisco's on a crazy run right now where they're crushing everyone again. They started off the season really good, then they lost 3 straight. Now they've won 3 straight again. They're taking on an Eagles team sitting 10-1. Very interesting here. The 8-3 team on the road, 2.5-point favorites, and the analytics like them at a 56% chance to win this game. I think San Francisco thoroughly controls this football game. If you look at the Eagles, yes, they're 10-1, but their last 2 wins, Jalen Hurts in the first half last week was terrible. The week before that in the first half, the Eagles were terrible as well. They're not going to keep getting away with these slow starts. It's the regular season. The Eagles are not going to finish 16-1. They're going to lose football games. I did have them losing to the Bills, and honestly, they should have lost to the Bills if we're being completely honest. At least the Bills covered the 3.5. That's neither here nor there. I'm not trying to brag about it, but I did have them plus the 3.5 either way. Give me San Francisco. Give me the under and San Francisco -2.5 in this game. San Francisco will show up. They will shut Jalen Hurts down. He keeps having these bad halves, and then he comes back. It's going to end at some point. And I think San Francisco is the team to do it. They get the win on the road. Sunday Night Football. This could have been Mahomes versus Rodgers, right? Oh, could you imagine that? But no, it is Mahomes versus Jordan Love. And Jordan Love is improving. The development with Christian Watson, some of the other receivers, it's impressive. You do have Kansas City coming off that nice win at the Raiders when they were down 14-0, and then they come back and blow them out. I will take Mahomes to win this game on the road, but I do like the value in Jordan Love, the way he's played the past few weeks, covering that 6.5-point spread. The Chiefs, I'm not that high on them this year. I know they are 8-3. I know, they've won multiple Super Bowls. I get it. I don't think they're winning this Super Bowl at all. They do not have enough skill position talent this year. So I will take the cover for the Packers, but Mahomes to win this game 26-23. And then the Monday night game, it's a tough one. Obviously, Jake Browning in instead of Joe Burrow. It is Jacksonville sitting -8. They are at home taking on a Cincinnati team. I don't know if Cincinnati's, waved the white flag. Would it be for the best if they just finish 5-12, possibly get a top 10 pick? We'll have to see what they end up doing with T. Higgins, but very likely Cincinnati. It's pretty much over ever since the Joe Burrow injury on that Thursday night game. I will take Jacksonville to cover in this game, 27-13, a relatively easy win. Game could possibly be close in the first half. Jake Browning, he certainly is serviceable. He's not terrible. He kind of reminds me of a worse version of Alex Smith. So slightly below average, but either way, I do like Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville really having a nice season, good win against Houston on the road, higher scoring game. I will take them here But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.